In a dark room, 4 mercenaries drop dead to the floor, causing Andy to think about all the times she died and wonder if this is her last time. It all begins a day before in Morocco, when Andy meets with Booker to chat about a possible new job for them. Andy hesitates because she doesn't want to fight anymore, but Booker convinces her to at least come back to the hotel and see the others. On their way there, Andy notices some girls taking a picture that accidentally includes her, so she makes up an excuse to borrow the phone and deletes every evidence of their presence. At the hotel, they reunite with couple Nikki and Joe after a long time. All the guys want to take the job, but Andy is still hesitant because she doesn't trust Copley, and they have a rule to never work with the same employer twice. In the end, they convince her to go with Booker to have a meeting with Copley just to see what he has to say. Sometime later, Andy and Booker sit outside at a cafe while Nikki and Joe watch from the hotel window just in case. Copley arrives and explains everything. He decided to take a break from the CIA when his wife got sick, but when she died, he couldn't bring himself to go back. Nowadays he pays himself for these kinds of jobs and wants their team to do this one. The mission would be saving some hostages in South Sudan, and when Copley says how they could help make a big difference, Andy finally accepts. Afterward, the team flies to South Sudan and waits for night to fall to strike. They silently kill all the guards outside one by one and then sneak through the fence to kill a few more. The building's door is destroyed with a small explosive, but when they make it inside, they're shocked to discover that there actually are no hostages. Andy realizes they've been set up right before a bunch of soldiers enter the room and open fire, causing the team to fall to the ground with blood spreading around them. Thinking the team is dead, the soldiers turn their backs, but soon the team's bodies start to heal rapidly and even expel all the bullets. The 4 of them soon get up from the ground and kill all the soldiers with a variety of fighting techniques, not caring if they get hurt in the process. All this is seen by Copley through security cameras, which Andy notices and destroys. The next morning, the team buries their bloody clothes in the sand and discusses their options. Andy says that they have to find Copley and kill him because they know their secret. They're centuries-old warriors with regenerative healing abilities who work to help people as mercenaries. But after they find Copley, she's decided she'll be done fighting for the world. Meanwhile in Afghanistan, Soldier Nile of the American forces is on a mission to check on a group of women that might be held hostage by an enemy. When she finds them, they silently send her in the direction of the man, and Nile enters the building with her team, quickly shooting the guy in the chest. Then Nile moves to check on the body, but the man slices her throat. A teammate rushes to cover Nile's wound, but she still dies. At that moment, the team is sleeping on a train and they begin having dreams of Nile being killed while in the medic tent. Nile is alive and dreaming of the team in return. The team wakes up and realizes that these dreams mean that there's another one of them, which frustrates Andy because she wants to get this done quickly. The guys have to convince her this is a sign, and they need to find Nile, so Andy says she'll go do it herself while they work on tracking down Copley. They agree to meet in France later. Back to Nile, she realizes her friends are all wary of her now because she doesn't even have a scar from the injury. The incident is reported and the higher-ups decide to send Nile to Germany for some testing. An upset Nile returns to her tent, and her mood gets worse when she discovers that her friends have already packed her things. In England, pharmaceutical executive Merrick gives a presentation about stem cell research, telling a wealthy public that he has the technology to end human disease and prolong our lifespan. All he needs is investment. Afterward, Merrick meets with Copley, who shows him the footage of Andy's team coming back to life. However, Merrick is unhappy, explaining that he needs hard evidence because people will just think the video was edited. He needs Copley to capture them and bring them to him. While Nile waits for a helicopter to pick her up, Andy cuts in and knocks all the guards out before doing the same to Nile. Moments later, Nile wakes up in the trunk of an army vehicle driven by Andy and immediately tries to escape by kicking out the back. Tries to run away, but Andy stops her by shooting the back of her head. Then Andy waits for Nile to come back to life and Nile responds by stabbing her on the shoulder. Andy isn't bothered and tells her that if she wants answers, she'll have to come with her. Afterward, Andy and Nile take a plane to France that is currently participating in a trafficking operation. Andy calls the team to inform them she's got the girl, but they don't have info on Copley yet. Before they leave, Andy destroys her phone. Then she tells Nile about her team and the fact they have no idea why they're immortal, but Nile doesn't find these vague answers very satisfying. After Andy falls asleep, Nile binds her to her chair and holds a gun to the pilot's head to make him fly back. When Andy wakes up, she talks to the pilot in Russian, telling him to play dead so she can distract Nile. Andy pretends to shoot the pilot and the plane starts falling, so when Andy says she knows how to pilot, Nile releases her. Then the pilot regains control of the plane and corrects their course back to France while Nile and Andy get in a fight. With way more years of experience, Andy easily wins and gives Nile some serious wounds to calm her down. As the girl watches her injuries heal on their own, Andy finally convinces her to collaborate. Later in France, they meet with the rest of the team in an old abandoned church, where they have dinner, and Nile gets to learn more about the team. Booker became immortal in the 18th century, Nikki and Joe were enemies at the Crusades, and Andy says that she is the oldest, but doesn't remember her actual age. The team also tells Nyla that it is possible for them to die, but it is very rare. After an immortal has been alive for long enough, their wounds just stop healing, indicating it's their time. Afterward they all go to sleep except for Andy, who stays on a chair in the living room. In the middle of the night, Nile has a nightmare that wakes everyone up. She explains that she saw a woman in a coffin drowning in the sea, and the team tells her that was Quinn, another immortal that used to fight alongside Andy. Back then they had been attempting to free women accused of witchcraft, but they were caught, and accused of witchcraft themselves. Soon the town realized they couldn't die, so they made a special plan. They separated the women and locked Quinn in an iron coffin, which was thrown into the ocean. Since then, Quinn has been drowning over and over, reviving and dying again, forever. Upset by this story, Nile rushes outside and Andy follows her to tell her they're all she's got. Suddenly they hear Copley's soldiers arrive. As Copley watches everything from a surveillance van, the women go back inside and discover that Joe and Nikki are nowhere to be found, and Booker has been blown up by a grenade, which takes a while to heal. Then Nile waits with Booker while Andy goes after the soldiers. Once again, she jumps into the fight without caring about getting hurt and defeats everyone in seconds, which causes Copley to go away in fear. Once it's over, the group packs their things and goes looking for another hideout. Meanwhile, Joe and Nikki wake up in a van surrounded by soldiers, who make fun of them for being a couple and keep them apart when they try to kiss. Soon, the van takes them to an airport, but when the doors are opened it's revealed that Joe and Nikki have killed everyone while still being handcuffed. Copley puts them on a plane to England and takes them to see Merrick, who stabs them for fun as he explains that he'll put them through experiments until he figures out how to make the human lifespan longer. Next, Nikki and Joe are sedated and sent to a lab while Merrick demands that Copley bring him the others too. Back to Andy, she, Booker, and Nile take shelter in an abandoned mine, where Nile is shocked to find all the old treasure and original art they hid there. While Booker tells Nile about his dead kids and the pain of living forever while their loved ones die, Andy realizes that her wounds aren't healing. She leaves the mine to drive to a pharmacy in town, where she buys medical supplies and is surprised when the cashier offers to help dress her wounds in the back room. When Andy asks why the woman is helping a stranger without asking any questions, the woman says that she expects Andy to pass on the act of kindness to someone else tomorrow, which leaves Andy thinking about the people she's lost. In Merrick's lab, Joe and Nikki are kept strapped down to chairs while the doctors keep taking samples. Copley points out that Merrick has all the samples he could ever need, so they don't need to hold the duo hostage anymore, but Merrick says he'll do whatever he wants and he won't stop until he has results. Nikki tries, telling the doctor that people have done the same experiments on them in the past and it's never worked, but the doctor ignores him. Sometime later in the middle of the night, Nile wakes up from a bad dream and decides to go outside for fresh air. She finds Andy going through her phone and Nile shares some stories about her family, but Andy sadly doesn't remember hers. Soon Booker meets with them to say that he's found Copley's location and they immediately head off. When they arrive at the address, Booker leaves to scout the area while Andy gives Nile a weapon. However, Nile announces she doesn't want to help, saying she wants to spend as much time with her family as she can before it's too late. Andy decides to let her take the car, only asking her to get rid of the rest of the weapons on the way. Once she's far enough, Nile opens the trunk and realizes Andy took the wrong bullets for her weapon. At the facility, Andy and Booker sneak inside and go upstairs to find Copley. They immediately hold him at gunpoint, but suddenly Booker shocks Andy by shooting her in the side and restraining her. He explains that he set them up on purpose because he wants Merrick to figure out some way to kill them so they don't have to suffer anymore, and Copley wants the cure that could have saved his wife. However, when Booker realizes Andy isn't healing, he starts to panic. Soon a bunch of guards come in and restrain Andy and Booker, so Copley protests, pointing out that he doesn't think Andy will survive any tests. However, Merrick doesn't care and orders the guards to take Andy and Booker to the same testing room where Joe and Nikki are kept, demanding results. Meanwhile, Copley is suddenly cornered by Nile, who demonstrates her powers so Copley will explain what's going on. He tells her he spent years doing research on the team and learned about all the good they've done for humanity. Copley also says he had thought that by bringing the team in for this testing, he would be helping the world, but he's realized that he was wrong. Then Nile convinces Copley to take her to the team. Moments later, They arrive at Merrick's building and Copley grants Nile access. She makes it to the upper floors and is immediately shot, but she quickly recovers and starts making her way through all the guards, killing them until she finds the right room. Nile frees her friends and tells Andy she's seen all her work, confirming she definitely has something to fight for. Nikki and Joe are furious with Booker for his betrayal, but Andy points out that now isn't the time to argue about this. Afterward, the team moves through the building fighting guards as they try their best to cover Andy, but she quickly proves that she's still just an amazing warrior even if she's no longer immortal. After they're hit by a bomb, Andy beats up a guy until he confesses Merrick's location. However, when they arrive at Merrick's office, it is empty, and they notice that the elevator is going down. The guys go to chase after Merrick while Nile stays with Andy. Unfortunately, the elevator going down had been a trap, and Merrick suddenly shows up with an axe. Copying the trick from the plane, Nile pretends to shoot Andy, who quickly jumps on a distracted Merrick to steal his axe and hit him before Nile tackles him. They break through the window and land on a car, which kills them both. Soon the guys come to help Nile out, and once Andy joins them, they leave together before the cops arrive. Sometime later, Booker waits outside while the team has lunch and discusses what Booker's punishment will be for his betrayal. Nile keeps him company and says they've been making arrangements to fake her death and give her family closure, so Booker tells her she will make a great addition to the team. Later, Andy talks with Booker and informs him that his punishment will be spending 100 years by himself. Since Andy is mortal now, this means they'll never see each other again, and they say goodbye with a hug. Afterward, the group confronts Copley to tell him that his punishment will be working for them by getting them jobs and deleting all evidence of their existence. 6 months later in France, Booker returns to his apartment and is shocked to find Quinn there. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.